Your Airtable base might be powerful, but if your team is still operating in the data layer in grid views, you have a usability problem. In this video, I'm going to show you why teams should really be leveraging interfaces, and if you're not there already, give you some tips so that you can get up to speed quickly in your interfaces from your powerful backend Airtable base. We're going to do all of this right in Airtable, no third-party tools required. So if you're ready to learn more, stick around and let's get into it. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gareth and this is Gap Consulting, and it's our mission here to help you unlock the full potential of Airtable and related no-code tools. And as I said at the top of this video, we're going to be doing a deep dive into how you can mature your Airtable database. How do you take it from being a powerful backend to something that your team can actually use, that you can roll out, and really start putting some permissions in? And as I called out, we're doing all of this right in Airtable, and it all has to do with the interfaces element in Airtable. Now, before we get into the heart of things, I just want to quickly call out that I talk to dozens of powerful Airtable users every week. And this is a very common thing that I hear from many of our clients. So if you find yourself in this category and you say, I've been using Airtable for 5 years, 10 years, I don't need interfaces, well, I would suggest that maybe you reconsider that, because if you are rolling out Airtable to your team, you cannot really do a good job of locking down what people have access to at the database layer. So let's start there, and then I'll show you why interfaces are the preferred approach. So here we are in a sample database. Notice that at the top of my screen, I am in the database layer. And if you're a longtime Airtable user, you're probably very comfortable here because this is all we had up until quite recently. Most of the power users in Airtable are very accustomed to this because this is where we all cut our teeth. This is where we learned how to build in Airtable. So here I've got clients. This is a table of different clients that we work with on different projects. You can see their status. We have our team members listed out in a different table. This is quite common if you're working along a team, especially if you're not in interfaces. And I just want to highlight that I'm doing this intentionally. So if you have this kind of a setup, I'm going to show you how you can use this in an interface to make it more powerful. Then we've got contacts. These are people related to the clients. We've got projects that we're delivering here with different status. We have deliverables on these projects, and then we've got billing milestones. This is just a sample database. It's just for testing and for demonstrative purposes, but let's dive into why those interfaces are so important. When we flip into interfaces, you can see here we have a test interface built. It's not fully baked yet, but when we put an interface together, we can be very purposeful, very intentional about what information shows up here. In this particular sample, what we have is the ability to check out a specific record, in this case, the digital transformation strategy record. And then when it's selected here on the right side of the screen, we see information about that that's getting surfaced. Now, what I want to highlight for you is that we can go into each element in an interface and choose what people are allowed to do with it, or even if they're allowed to see it. So let's rewind there. Looking at this whole section, we have the fields that are visible. Many of these fields are hidden. These are the fields that are on display on the interface. So we get direct control over what exactly people are able to see when they're on this interface page. The other key takeaway is that we can choose at a field level what people are allowed to do here. So this is the project type, and you'll notice that it is set to be editable, meaning that anyone who accesses this interface page, if they are an editor or better in their permissions, they will be able to edit this field. But that does not mean that they have carte blanche to just edit anything. This is the start date. This one is not set to be editable. Here's the target delivery date. Also, this is view only, not editable. So why is this so valuable? Well, if you had shared access just to the backend data, and your team was logging in here, and they had access to all of this information, here's the record we were just looking at, how can you prevent them from editing the start date or the target delivery date, but still allowing them to edit the project type? And the short answer is, you really can't, because if they have edit access to the data layer, they have full-on edit access. And this can really mess up a lot of your data. Yes, it means that people have access or the ability to update it. And maybe even with their best intentions at heart, they still make mistakes and accidentally start typing. They're in a different window, information gets updated, they never even knew it, and now you have dirty data, and that doesn't help anybody. But the other key takeaway is workflows start to break. If you have workflows that are dependent on emails being correct in the system or statuses not getting updated, well, suddenly, if people are allowed to edit anything, even with the best intentions, those workflows become very fragile. But if you lock that down, and if you say, actions that these people take in the interface are intentional, we've mapped them out, we are very thoughtful and precise about what we allow people to edit, now you have a powerful, robust workflow that is not nearly as fragile as allowing someone to edit anything on the back end. Another massive reason for leaning toward interfaces is just better adoption by your team. And so let's face it, I love rows and columns. I grew up in spreadsheets and databases, but not everybody likes to work from a spreadsheet. And so for those people, especially creative types, people who are more artistic, they prefer, in general, a better user experience. Something like an interface here that we can launch, give them specific actions, and really highlight certain visual aspects of something. It's not nearly as mathematical as the rows and columns of a backend database, and that's the point. It's going to get you better user adoption across the organization, and that is ultimately the whole point of building anything in Airtable or any software. The last thing I want to call out is that we just get better reporting here. So we can create an interface dashboard quite easily, and we get much better information than we would if we were at the data layer in Airtable. You can see that we can put this to just about any of the different tables in our database. And by default, it's going to come in with a pivot table, a bar chart, and a count. But this is really just to highlight what's possible here. We can bring in any information from the source table that we would like, and we can perform calculations here by doing summaries. Maybe we want to look at the percent that's filled, or if it's a number, we can take the sum or the average. So this allows us to build much more robust dashboards for reporting, for C-suite, for management, so that everybody knows what's happening to the data underneath, and it's rolling up so that key decisions can be made right in the system. Now I want to shift gears just a bit and show you 3 key different interfaces that are excellent starting points for anyone in an Airtable system. Number 1 is going to be My Work. And we're going to start by going back to the data layer here, because I highlighted at the beginning that it mattered that we had our team members in this field like this, or this table. So what I want to start with here is to build an Airtable user field. And this way we can just bring in the Airtable user and assign them with any of the records. So let me add myself as an account manager here, and I'll show you exactly how this would play out. I can add myself as an Airtable user right here to this user record. And that's important because when this user record gets assigned to projects, I'm just now assigning myself to the holiday campaign here, and I'll give myself this go-to-market strategy presentation deliverable. Now, this matters because I can look up the collaborator who is assigned to these things from the users table. So because we have this team members table, we can build a proper My Work section. Here's how it looks. On the projects in this case, now I want to look up the relationship that goes to our team members. In this case, that is the account manager. So let's find the account manager here, and we're going to look up the collaborator field that we just built. So anywhere where I have been tagged as the account manager, you're going to see my user record, my Airtable user ID get pulled in here. And that's the whole key. So now that we have this information in the projects table, I can build a My Work section that shows me any project that I'm related to. We can do the same thing for deliverables as well. So let me bring in the same idea here. We'll use that lookup field. and we're going to look up anywhere that the assigned to has the collaborator. This again is going back to our team members table where we assigned the collaborator user through Airtable. So let's create this lookup field. And again, here you can see I was assigned to the go-to-market strategy. My Airtable user comes in. This is all backend logic. Let's go now to the interface. I'll build a new interface here, and let's just add a new page, and I can bring in a list of ongoing work. Let's say, for example, I go to my deliverables, and here we go. This is what it's going to bring in, all deliverables. But for our case, I want to filter this so that it only brings it in for the logged in user. And in order to do this, we apply a filter here inside of the deliverables where we say that that field that we added, this is the lookup field, is or has any of, and let's toggle this group match setting here to replace groups with member users, and we're going to bring in the current user. So just like that, because I am assigned to only one deliverable, this automatically gets filtered down just that quickly. Now, for my other team members, assuming that we added their Airtable user IDs back here to the team member so that we added them as collaborators, once we do that, anything that they're connected to, any deliverables they're assigned, are then going to also show up in their specific interfaces. So this is the first very powerful interface that you should practice because it helps your team surface only the information that they care about. In this case, when I'm looking for my work, I just want to see the stuff that I need to work on. What are my deliverables? I don't care about the thousands of things that the company is doing as a whole today. I care about my individual work, and that's a perfect interface to surface that. Now, number 2 is going to be a project manager dashboard or interface so that project managers can keep things on track. And so in this case, we focused on deliverables, the actual work that's being accomplished inside of Airtable. Well, we can take this a layer up and come up to projects. So let's add another type of interface page here. And again, we have all these different choices. We could do a Kanban, a gallery, a list, a dashboard as we demoed earlier. Let's bring in the Kanban here for this particular example. And this time I'm going to point it at projects. And this question here is asking what we want to stack our cards by. We have the status field, and so you can see that we're going to see all of our records based on what status they're in. And just like that, we've now created that. So similar to the last one, we could bring it in so that project managers only see their projects. This is a quick and easy filter done here. We apply the same user conditions that we built in the last one. Again, we have that collaborator lookup, has any of, we'll bring this in and make it the current user. And again, just like that, how many projects do I now see? Well, I only have the one holiday campaign project assigned to me. If on the back end that changes, let's say this record here, this is my record as a team member, gets another project assigned to it. Well, inside of my interface, I'm going to see new projects as well. Now, something that a lot of new users don't realize is that you have full control over what people can do in this interface. Can they click this and drag it into another status? Well, we can allow that by adding the records in line. And so once this is enabled, I can now drag this around and drop it anywhere. We can also allow whether our users can click into this or not. If you want them to see the record detail, simply toggle this on. This will allow them to click in, and you still have full control over what they can see, what they can edit, and when. So if we don't want them to see this, no problem. Simply hide it from this interface page. If you want them to see this and edit it, no problem. Highlight it, make it editable. So you get a lot more control again, but it's also a more fluid experience. Rather than clicking from table to table, now I'm looking at my projects. I want to click in and see more information about the project, and it's right there in front of me. Now, as a closing thought, I just want to call out that this does not have to be intimidating, and you can start building interfaces with just a few prompts. Now, they might not always be right off of just 1 or 2 prompts with AI, but this can dramatically help shorten the learning curve so that you get to a finished interface product that much more quickly. If you're interested in doing that, make sure that AI is enabled in your workspace, and on the left-hand side of your screen, open Omni. You can do this from the database or from automations as well. And all you need to do is come in here and present a good prompt. Now, if you're not really comfortable prompting AI, or at least prompting AI inside of Airtable, that's okay. Here's a quick tip for you. When you're starting out with a new interface, choose one role, one workflow, and highlight just 3 or 4 things that need to be surfaced in that particular interface. If you can articulate that and share that with the AI, Omni can help you build an interface that is appropriate for the type of data that you're discussing, has the different permissions that you need, and it can also just serve as a launching point so that you have something to start playing with. Because frankly, if I were to sit down today and look at interfaces, it would be a little bit overwhelming. There are so many options. So shorten the learning curve and start off with a few different prompts right in your AI co-builder. Remember, start with one workflow. Don't rebuild your entire base. Just modernize your existing setup. If you've been using Airtable for a while, there's no need to start over from scratch. You can keep building and improving the existing system. If you already have a working Airtable base without interfaces and you're looking for a little help, our Gap Labs option is the perfect selection for you. With just a couple of hours with our consultants, you can meet face-to-face online and get direct help to building the interfaces for your teams. If you'd like to learn more, be sure you swing by our website for additional information, or sign up for a strategy call from our website. I'll share the link below. We offer these completely free to help you get unstuck and move forward with your next Airtable project. That's it for this video. I hope you got a ton of value from it, and if you did, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, keep on building.